But to today's terrible economic news, Australians are getting poorer, and Treasurer Jim Chalmers shows signs of cracking under the strain. The Bureau of Statistics now says that wages last year rose by 3.4%. The problem is, inflation last year was much higher, 3.8%. And it gets worse. The Reserve Bank says it expects inflation to rise more than wages all next year as well. And when prices rise more than wages, you get poorer. We are getting poorer thanks to higher inflation, higher interest rates, higher power prices, and the Albanese government's massive spending, which is driving up that inflation. But here's how the Treasurer tried to sugar the bad news today.
What we've seen in these numbers today is wages growth, which is north of 3%. That's a good, strong and sustainable number. But with inflation higher than we'd like, obviously that has implications for real wages for the time being.
That said, Chalmers is getting ratty under the pressure. 2 weeks ago, he accused economists of playing politics when they warned the government spending was too much. Today, he even abused former Reserve Bank Governor Phillip Lowe, a mild-mannered man, for also warning that Chalmers is making inflation worse with his big spending and big handouts. Chalmers today smeared him as just a bitter man out for revenge.
It's a matter of public record. Phil Lowe would have liked to have been reappointed by the government. After he wasn't reappointed by the government, he's become a fairly persistent critic of the Labor government in the pages of the Financial Review and elsewhere. I think to some extent that's just human nature.
God, what a patronising, arrogant man. Phillip Lowe hasn't been a persistent critic of government, but at this point he's absolutely right. It seems that anyone trying to tell Jim Chalmers to pull up, according to Jim Chalmers, must be bitter, political or mad. Has he got tickets on himself? Joining me is the political panel, Cameron Milner, former Chief of Staff to Labor leader Bill Shorten, now Director of GXO Strategies. Experts in crisis management, the Albanese government should call them. And Michael Costa, former New South Wales Labor Treasurer. Michael, today's figures, what do they say?
They are disappointing, is the mildest thing I can say. It's disappointing for those people that are now facing high inflation and having their real wages cut. Look, Chalmers has just lost the plot. I mean, that attack on Lowe, and I wasn't a fan of Lowe. I think he got it wrong in terms of interest rates, around the COVID period. But having said that, I mean, that attack is just appalling. The fact of the matter is we cannot have real wages grow in this country, independent of everything else that goes, unless we increase productivity. Chalmers doesn't understand that. All the economists out there are using basically the same models. They're a variant of what we call neo-Keynesian models, and the Reserve Bank uses that and the Treasury uses that. Every single one of those models, even with their variance in it, shows the government spending crowds out the private sector. Now, the private sector is where our value grows. I mean, Chalmers doesn't understand this. He needs to do a basic economics 101 course on macroeconomics. I mean, he's becoming embarrassing, Andrew. The more he attacks people for stating what is the standard model in economics, he looks like a fool. And, I don't have much respect for his economic credentials, but this is getting worse and worse, and he's under real pressure.
I think Chalmers does understand that productivity is a key. He actually called it Productivity Summit. The problem is that they're so beholden to the union movement that they can't actually release the handbrakes on business to make that happen. That is the key issue. But Cameron Milner, Jim Chalmers, I know you think a lot of him, but sliming Phillip Lowe for warning against big spending, claiming it's just bitter at being dumped as Reserve Bank Governor, that is so low.
It is. It's a low blow, isn't it, Andrew? A low blow. I mean, this is a situation where Jim was obviously pretty rattled at the press conference. I mean, Jim is normally better than this, but he's got a huge problem because this is out of control spending. To your point, Michael, I mean, government money, which is borrowed debt, is not a way to grow the economy. It never has been, never will be. Yet that's all we seem to be doing as this government. NDIS, childcare for everyone, home deposits for everyone. No means testing. That's all gone out the window. No, just money after money after money. And that's why even Michelle Bullock, the new Reserve Bank governor, called out in the Senate estimates. Government spending is contributing to inflation. Government spending is a problem.
It's worse, Andrew.
Just go on, Michael.
Oh, I was going to say it's worse. If you actually look at those figures, the only sector that had a real wage increase was the public sector. So the people
Exactly,
that are
Michael.
creating the
Exactly.
wealth that get taxed, 80% of pay as you go tax, which is the largest contribution to government tax, comes out of private employment. They're going backwards, but the public sector is increasing its wages and increasing its size. It's a bloody mess.
Yeah, well, that's part of the problem of the productivity challenge, because you don't get much productivity from that with this bloating of the government sector, plus, of course, the diversion of investment and cash to that sector at the cost of the private sector, which is really stagnant. That's the engine of wealth right there.